So very nice. So we have Ben Hur from Brazil. We have Emmanuel from Australia. Wow, that's from far away. We have Tendi Metenge from Botswana. So it seems like the system is working. Very nice. Very nice. So the plan for today is very simple. We will review briefly what Xculture is, how it works, and then most importantly, what you need to do well in this project and maybe even win this competition. And so we expect here both students and professors. So if we have some professors here who have participated in the past, please raise your hand. There is a button at the bottom of your screen that says, literally looks like raise hand. So this way I will know that you're one of the experienced professors and I will add you to the speaker panel. So this way you will be able to share your experience with those who participate for the first time. And again, with your permission, I'm recording this meeting. So this way those who could not attend live will be able to watch the recording. So what I'll do is first I will tell a little bit about the history of Xculture, so you know where we come from. So basically you know how the whole idea started and how it works. And then I will talk a little bit more about this semester, how things will go this semester. And then most importantly, if you have any questions, you will be able to ask them. And so if you have questions, you can, again, type your question in the Q&A window, and I will answer them. I will see them, and I will answer them. Or maybe even better yet, if you raise your hand, so if you press the button, raise your hand, I will see it, and I will add you to the window here, to the panel, and we will be able to talk, like in Skype on the phone. So hi, my name is Dr. Vas Taras. I am the founder of Xculture, and I'm a professor of international business here at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. So I'm not sure if you can see my windows. So it's a morning here. Yeah, I guess it's not very visible, but yeah. So North Carolina, my location, and I see we have people here from Latin America, Brazil, from Australia, from Botswana, Africa. So very nice. So we have quite a few continents, North America. So very nice. So let me first tell you a little bit about Xculture, where it came from, and you know, where the idea came from and what we're trying to do here. Xculture has been around for about 9 years, and the original need or idea for Xculture came from my own experience and difficulties of teaching international business. So when I started teaching international business here at UNCG, it's been 10 years now, I would frequently find myself in a situation where I would be standing in front of the classroom and I would be trying to explain to the students that doing business internationally is different from doing business domestically. That you know, working with people from Brazil or Australia or Botswana may be different than working with people from the United States. And my students would sort of believe me, but they wouldn't fully understand what I'm trying to tell. So it's like as if I was trying to teach them how to swim on a football field, right? Imagine that you're a teacher, you know, a coach, swimming coach, and you have a bunch of students whom you need to teach how to swim. And so you would lecture them and you would tell them, you know, what water feels like, and you would show them how swimming works. Maybe you even show them videos of people swimming. You assign them textbooks to read, articles to read. But will they learn really how to swim without getting in the water? Probably not. They may have a lot of knowledge about swimming, but probably will still not be very good at swimming. Same thing with international business. You can spend a lot of time explaining what it is like to work with people from other countries, cultures. But until you get in the water, until you experience that in real life, you will not fully be prepared. You will not be fully prepared. You will not be able to fully understand what it is like to work with people from other cultures. And so as a way to help my students, you know, learn international business, I thought it would be a good idea if I could find a professor in a different country who also teaches international business. And so I could take my students and I could take that professor's students and we would put them in international teams. And so they would work across the time zone differences, cultural differences, institutional differences, language differences. They would have to communicate online using Google Docs and Dropbox and Skype and Slack and Trello, all those kinds of things. And so they would experience in real life what I'm trying to explain to them in the classroom. And so one day I simply sent out an email through the Academy of International Business. It's a professional association of not agriculture, of business professors in general. And literally just asked, hey, if you teach international business, would you like to participate in this project with me? And to my surprise, quite a few people responded. In fact, many people responded. The first time we did it, we had about 400 students from 7 countries. The number of participants has been growing ever since. And so last semester, for example, we had about 5,000 students. They came from 150 universities, 160 universities, and about 43 countries, if I remember correctly. And so what we do is we take those students and we place them in international teams so that every team member is in a different country. So you would have 5, 6, 7 team members, and everybody will be located somewhere else. And so you will have to work with those people from all around the world. So the main sort of learning outcome or benefit of Xculture is that you will have completed a project with people from many different countries, half a dozen different countries. And so you will have to deal with and maybe sometimes be frustrated with and complain about, as I said, time zone differences and difficulties finding a time for a meeting, and maybe cultural differences. Maybe your team member from Ukraine will have different values and different work style and different access to technology than you. And so that will be challenging and difficult, but in the end, you will still complete the project and you will have experienced those challenges. And so this way, when next time you have to do a project in an international team, maybe for work or maybe for school, you will know much better what to expect. You will know much better how these things can go and how to manage an international team. So that's the international component. The business component is that you will complete that project for a real company that has a real challenge. And so there will be a real client, a real CEO or manager or owner of the company who will ask for your help. The first few years when we did Xculture, we did not have real companies. So the challenge at that time was, if you were to start a business, what that business would be, basically write a business plan. And it was fun. It was fine. Students still had some, they had fun working with this project, and they still learned a lot about working together, but not that much about the business component. But then in 2013, one of our professors was doing some work with Mercedes-Benz. They were trying to develop some marketing strategy. And so the professor says, hey, while we are trying to think about the best slogan and the best marketing tools, maybe we should ask the Xculture students. And at that time we had, I think, about 1,000, maybe 2,000 participants. And so they called me and say, would you like to participate with us here in this challenge? And I thought, sure, why not? And so the Xculture students participated and actually did pretty well. In fact, they did so well, I think I have here this picture, that Mercedes invited some of the best students for a face-to-face meeting. So we had a total of, I think, about 30 students or something like that at that time. So we went to Istanbul, Turkey. That's where they have a factory that makes buses and trucks, Mercedes-Benz trucks and buses, like big machines. And so we spent several days there, met with the management of the company, met with, saw how they make the trucks and buses. It was a lot of fun, like literally we saw how they make those machines from like a roll of metal all the way to when you put the key in the ignition, turn the key, and the whole thing starts. So very, very interesting full cycle factory that makes those buses and trucks. And so at that time I thought, hey, it would be more interesting for the students if we had real clients and real challenges, not just a hypothetical business plan development, but a real challenge from a real company. And so ever since, we would accept about 10 companies in a given semester, and they would ask for help with all kinds of things. So we had some big companies like Mercedes-Benz, like the Home Depot, Louis Vuitton, JCB, like serious international multinational corporations, but also some smaller companies. And in fact, now lately, I try to choose mainly smaller companies. And the reason for that is that, one, it will be a long time before most of our students will be managing a company like Mercedes-Benz, right? So, but most of you probably within a few years will be either starting your own business or maybe working for a company that is more average in size. And so the types of challenges they have are the types of challenges that you will be trying to resolve in your own business just in a few years, or maybe already working on them. Second, and this is very important, when we work with the small companies, it's more enjoyable because they really need your help. Like when you look at a company the size of Mercedes-Benz, even though they were very happy and they, provided very, very positive feedback on the work the students did, the truth is that it's a huge multinational company with a huge research and development department, and they already work in most of the countries. So there is really not that much we can tell them that they already don't know or that they cannot find out on their own. But when you have an average or small company, they may have a wonderful product, they may be ready to expand into new markets, but they do not have the resources to do the global search for the best markets. They do not have the resources to send a team to explore and understand that market. They may not have the resources to develop a strong marketing campaign. They may not have the connections to find local partners in that market. And so that's where you can be really, really helpful for them. That's where, the ideas that our students bring to them, they really, really cherish those ideas. It would cost them a fortune, years of time to do that research on their own or hire consultants to do it. Whereas ex-culture students bring those ideas to them. And so it makes me very, very happy to see how happy those companies are and to see that many of the ideas that come from the ex-culture students are being implemented right away by those companies. They say, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, this is an interesting business. Maybe I should try it. Or I never thought about that. So this way you can see your ideas come to life like right away. And in fact, those smaller companies often also offer jobs to the students that show the best performance, that make the best impression on the clients. We always, pretty much every semester have a few students who get the job offers. Like literally the client would be reading the challenge and like, this is interesting. Can you tell me who wrote it? I would like to meet that person. And would you like to work for me? So we would have a mix of smaller companies and bigger companies. And as I said, the smaller ones are especially appreciative of the work that you do for them. But yeah, that's basically it. So you will be first completing a little theoretical training, which I hope most of you have already done. And then once you're done with that, you will take the readiness test. And again, most of you have already completed that. And then on Monday, in 2 days, we will place you on teams. And we will start with teams of about 5. And then we will probably add the 6th team member a little bit, in a few days. So once everybody is done with the readiness test. And so we try to keep the team size at about 6 team members per team. But again, some teams may remain 5 and some teams may have 17 members. So there will be some variation there. And yep, and then you will choose one of the clients. You already can see some of the clients on your resource page. There will be a few more added in the coming days. And so you'll have a total of about 10 to choose from. And yep, so your job will be to choose one, and then you will spend the rest of the semester trying to develop the solution to the challenge presented by that client's company. We will have webinars with the company representatives, the company owners or managers. And so they will introduce the company to you. You will have a chance to ask your questions. We will also have later a series of webinars where you will be able to present your ideas and get some feedback. And so this way you will be communicating with the client from time to time. If you have more questions, you will be able to send an email and they will answer the question. And when you are done, you will submit your report, and each report will be evaluated by about 5 different professors plus the client. And based on those evaluations, we will select the winners. So the members of the best teams will also receive some additional special certificates and recommendation letters and will be invited to the ex-culture symposium. So I'm not sure if you see the pictures there at the bottom of my floor. So I printed them, but didn't have the time to put them on the wall, and I'm kind of out of space on the wall, so I'll have to think where I put them. But 2 times a year, we organize what we call the ex-culture Global Symposium. And so to those meetings, we invite the members of the best teams, as well as the best students who showed the best performance. So we just had one a few weeks ago in Canada. I have a picture here, just printed that literally yesterday. So we had 150 or 160 students there, and some professors, so about 200 people total. Uh, so that's the last one. Before that, we had, I told you about the one in Turkey, and then we had also a few, Miami, Atlanta, Savannah, and then lately we had them primarily overseas. Like we had one in Italy last year, and then the next symposium will be in San Antonio, Texas in 6 weeks in October, and then the next one will be in Singapore in July. So the members of the best teams will be invited to those symposia, and so you'll have a chance to meet your team members, meet people from other countries, some professors. We usually would have 4 local companies that we visit, meet the management, see their facilities, production, how the whole thing works. We meet with the local entrepreneurs and city officials and politicians, and have all kinds of webinars on, I mean, seminars on, things, how to write a resume, how to do a job interview, how to look for a job, how to use LinkedIn to your advantage, when you're looking for jobs and things like that. So some of you will be also invited to those events, and hopefully I'll be able to meet some of you in person. But that's basically it. So if you have any questions, raise your hand. As I said, there is a button that says literally raise your hand, or you can type your questions in the Q&A. And so I see here attendee. So I assume Tandy is a professor, right? So yes, I will send later today. I actually should have done it earlier, but it's been such a busy week. Yes, so I will send all professors a list of all the students we have in the system at this time with the results of the readiness test for each student. And so far what we've been doing is we've been sending the reminders to the individual students who have not taken the test yet. And then those who have completed the test and passed it, we were already told them that they are in. And we have a few students who took the test but failed it. And so we sent them a letter saying that, you failed the test, but you can take it again. And so as long as they take it again, we will be able, we will admit them. And yes, my apology, I should have sent all the professors regular information so that they know which of the students passed the test. I'll do that later today. I have one more webinar after this one, but then in a few hours, I'll compile the latest information. In fact, I have it already in the file. I just need to forward it to the professors so that you know how well your students did. So far, it looks like pretty much most of the students are already done with the test. So most of the students are okay and ready to be placed on teams. We still have some who need to complete the test, but hopefully they will be done also in the next few days. In terms of the numbers, I'll give you some information too. So in XCulture, we have 2 separate tracks. We call them the early track and the late track. So the early track starts on Monday, and so it tends to be a little smaller. So that's for the countries and universities where the semester starts earlier. So we have about 1,000 students in the early track, and so there will be probably another 100 or so added in the next few days. So we will have a total of about 1,000, maybe 1,200. And so they come from about 30 different countries, about 40 different universities. And then the late track tends to be a little bit bigger. It's not better in any way, just bigger, just because, the schedule works better for that track. Exactly the same thing. So it will be exactly the same, schedule. They just start a little later. And so we will have another 4,000 or so students in the late track. And so there will be another 420 universities or so in the late track, and also about 40 countries. So don't worry that your track is smaller. It's still, each team will still have about 6 students, each from a different country. Just will be a different list of countries in the late track. And then in addition, this semester, we also have a large group of non-student participants. So we have almost 1,500 applicants at this time. So we will see how many of them will be ready to be placed on teams. And so those are kids as well as what we call professionals. So we have a large number of applicants who are not lucky as you are to be at a university where XCulture is part of the school curriculum or part of the course. And so we have a lot of applications from non-students who have heard from their friends about XCulture and would like to participate, or from kids. And the whole thing started when the professors started asking if my children can participate. And so we first would say no, but then at some point we thought, hey, why not? Let's try it. And so it worked very well. And now we opened it to everyone who would like to apply and participate in the project. And so, as I said, we have quite a few non-student participants, over 1,000. The only difference with them is that unlike university students who are participating in the project usually with a professor and as part of a course, and so they come in prepared, the non-student participants are less prepared. And so for them, we require that they take 1 month, 4 weeks of what we call theoretical training. So they have to complete a lot of theoretical, readings and then watch some videos. And then every week they have to complete a readiness test or theory test. And so we allow them to advance to the practical phase, to be working in teams only if they complete all 4 theory tests. So it tells us that they are now prepared both theoretically, they have the knowledge, but also it tells us that they're disciplined enough, interested enough, because they've been completing those tests week after week. They didn't drop out. They met all the deadlines, so they're ready to be placed on teams. And so we keep obviously people of different age and different sort of status separately. So children work with children. If it's a 15-year-old kid, the kid will be on a team with other 15-year-olds. If it's an adult non-student participant, the person will be on a team with people of comparable age and experience. And then obviously university students will be on teams with other university students and so on and so forth. And so they will be working in the same sort of format, same schedule, same challenges, but in separate teams. And so with all of that, it looks like we will have about 6,000 people total. Interestingly, and I'm very proud of that. So we have universities from about 40 countries, but the non-student participants come from 105 countries. I mean, I was, like at some point I saw like it's like 60 countries, 70 countries. Like, wow, that's a lot. And then by the end of the deadline, we actually hit, surpassed 100 countries, at least as far as the applications go. So now they have to complete the theory training and pass the test. And I suspect that not everybody will succeed, but at least the initial crowd is very, very diverse. And so we'll see how that goes. All right. Any other questions? There are a few more things that I want to cover. Just want to make sure that we have enough time for the questions. So for professors, a few other things that we need to discuss. Grading, evaluation, marking. So every week, the professors will receive an email with a detailed review of performance of each of their students. And so this way, if somebody is not doing well or maybe has some problems with the team, you will know about that. So you will receive those regular weekly updates and you will be able to monitor the performance of your students. We will help. So there is a student who is experiencing challenges, maybe needs some coaching or consulting. We will provide the coaches. So the professors obviously are expected to also help us here and intervene. But don't worry, it will not be too much work for you. There will be additional help provided through our own resources and network. And so we expect that the project will account for at least 20% of the course grade in your course. For some professors, it's much more. Some professors allocate 20, 30, 40, 50%. And we even have some professors for whom Xculture is the course. So it's basically 100% of the course grade is the Xculture project. We understand that in different countries at different universities, the rules are different. And so for that reason, for some students, it will be a little bit more a component of the grade of the course than for others. But we want that, we want to see the project to account for no less than 20% of the total grade. And then when it comes to the performance indicators, you will receive a lot of data. So you will see the weekly peer evaluations of your student on multiple dimensions. You will see the ratings of quality of the work your students do. You will see if they have completed weekly surveys. So there will be almost more data than you can process because we evaluate students from every possible angle. Self-evaluations, peer evaluations, expert evaluations, administrative records, time deadlines, all that will be recorded and monitored. And so you as a professor will see all that information updated weekly. You will usually receive that update every Tuesday and, for the previous week because it takes a couple of days for us to process the data. Likewise, the students, you will be receiving weekly updates on your own performance. So you will see what kind of peer evaluations you're getting from your team. You will get some feedback on the work you do. So this way you will also be informed, hopefully enough, about your own performance and level of success. And so again, if everything goes well, great, congratulations, kudos. But if you see that something's not going well, if your team is not happy with you, or if the quality of work you're producing is not good enough, you will know about that and hopefully will do something about it. Um, yeah, other than that, I guess that's kind of the important thing here. Um, one more important thing that I would like to say is that be ready for challenges. Be ready for some things not going very smoothly. So there will be times when somebody in your team perhaps will not be performing and not working as hard as you are. There will be times maybe when you will have some conflict or misunderstanding with your team members. Maybe somebody in your team will be too bossy or too shy, or maybe, I don't know, will not know how to use certain tools that you want to use, or will disappear for a few days because there will be some sort of a national holiday in that country. So all of those things will happen, and it's a good thing. So, I mean, there will be some teams that will be sort of lucky where everybody loves everybody and everybody working, is working hard, and everybody is perfectly fluent in English, and everybody is, coming for every meeting. It's good. I'm happy for you. But you should know that that will never happen again. So every time in your life when you will participate in a project that is based, team based, and where the team is international and where people are in different countries, all kinds of things will go wrong. All kinds of challenges will, you will experience all kinds of challenges. And so the whole purpose of X culture is to allow you to experience those challenges in a sort of low risk environment. The whole point here for you is to experience it so that when next time it happens, you know better what to expect and what to do. And so when my students come to me and say, "Hey, professor, somebody on my team is, not very polite, or somebody on my team is not very responsible and diligent, or somebody on my team is not working hard enough," I always say, well, I kind of feel sorry for you, but also I'm happy because you are getting a preview of what's in store for you in the future. You will see that again and again and again. And so the whole point of this project is for you to experience and learn how to deal with this. And so it's not that I would like you to, to have difficulties, in this project. But as I said, I would like you to get a realistic preview of what it is like to work with people from other countries. And so unless you experience them, you will never fully understand how sometimes challenging it can be. But the good thing is once you've experienced those challenges first, if you have to do it again, you will know much, much more. You will do much better. We have done a lot of studies where we looked at if students who participate the second time, if they do better. And we have a lot of students who participate the second time. Some of them would like to participate and voluntarily enroll. Some of them participated maybe before as an undergraduate student, and then they take another course at a different school, often as a master's student, and X Culture is part of the project. Or sometimes it's just a different course that they have to take, and then they have X Culture again. And so when we observe the performance of the students the second time, we see a huge improvement. They are much more likely to be the team leaders. They get much higher peer evaluations. The teams write much better reports, and they actually report much higher level of satisfaction. So it tells us that they learn enough to do better the second time, and that's the whole purpose. That's the whole point. So that's what we're trying to do. So obviously, the challenges, the frustrations are, not something we want you to have, but that's how you learn. And so that's the whole point of a project like that. Again, don't be worried. Most of your team members will be just fine, and everybody will be nice and work hard. But if something goes wrong, don't get upset. I mean, it's a low risk environment for you to learn. And honestly, I tell my students, if in the end of the project you have enemies on 5 continents, but you still have learned something, I'm still happy because it's a learning experience for you. Also, you should remember that your culture is not a test, it is an exercise. So don't worry too much about the answers your team will put in that report. So, don't worry too much if you will not win the competition, or if some of your team members will not write the best report. It's okay. It's an exercise. It's more about the process and less about the outcome. So, yeah. I have a question here from Beverly Jeremiah. Is there a rubric for teachers for evaluation? Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. We have a file, a template where you will record your evaluations of the quality of the students' reports, performance, and we will even provide a little training for how we do it. So nothing unusual. So you will be just asked to evaluate the reports, like quality of the executive summary, quality of each chapter, quality of the formatting and readability in general, creativity of the ideas, those kinds of things. So nothing unusual, but yes, there will be a standardized system in place. Yeah. Another thing I would like to say that when you're done with Xculture, every student will receive a certificate. So that looks something like this, and then also a recommendation letter. We used to get a lot of recommendation letters, but requests, and I would write them one by one, but it just takes forever. So now we write a detailed recommendation letter for every student and for every professor separately. And so those are the things that you can show to your potential employers or bosses. The recommendation letters are very detailed. It's multi-pages and multiple pages, and they explain in great detail what you did both as a student and as a professor. What kind of challenges you dealt with, what did you learn, what kind of skills you acquired, how important it is for your students if you're a professor, and then obviously a lot of nice things about your performance as long as you did a good job. So your performance review. And so we receive hundreds of emails from students every semester who tell me this story over and over again. They would say, I applied for a job and I came for a job interview, and there were like 20 other candidates waiting for the job interview. And so I'm like, oh, I'm not any better than they are. Do I even have hope to get that job? And so I come for a job interview. I sit across the table with my interviewer, and I see that the interviewer is bored and kind of falling asleep because I'm just like everybody else. But then I say, hey, by the way, in addition to all my coursework, I also completed Xculture. So I worked with people from 6 different countries, and we completed this real consulting project for a real company. And so this is what the challenge was, and this is what we proposed, and the company was very happy. And they even, I don't know, hired one of our students. And then the interviewer wakes up and like, oh, you work with people from different countries. Tell me more. And so we need someone like that because we have international clients or international suppliers or international foreign employees. And so we really need people like you. And I've never seen anyone who has that experience. Would you like to work for us? And again, here it's not even that you have to be, super smart and you have to be international business expert. You just have to be better than your competition. This joke that I tell all the time to my students. 2 men are walking through the forest. Somewhere in Canada. So they're walking through the forest and accidentally wake up a huge grizzly bear. And so the bear starts chasing them. And so they're running away from the bear. But the bear, is obviously much faster than people, than human. And so the bear is quickly closing up and is about to catch them. And then one man says, hey, why are we even running away? I mean, there is no way we can outrun a grizzly bear. The bear is faster than a human. And then the other man says, I do not have to be faster than the bear. I just have to be faster than you. And so the point here is the same thing with Xculture. So we may not make you a true international business expert, but we will definitely make you better than people of your age, than other students are. So you may not be this, the best person in the world for the job, but you will probably be better than students of your age and your background and your experience. And that's the whole point. So when the time comes for you to apply for jobs or to apply to graduate school for stipends or investment, you will have something that others don't have. And that's the whole point here. There's another question. If for some reason something personal happened and I can't continue with the project, what happens there? So that's a very, very good question. How do you manage? You touch upon several very important issues here, and I don't see the name, but it's a very good question. It's important to understand that Xculture is a team-based project. And if an individual team member has a difficulty and stops participating, the whole team suffers. And one of the reasons, in fact, the main reason why we have the readiness test that the students have to take is basically a selection tool. I mean, obviously, we would like you to go through the training and read all those materials that we provide. But even more so, we would like to make sure that you are at the very least able to download a file and go online and complete a test online, and you are interested enough and responsible enough to do it on time and to do it well. When we did Xculture the first few years, there was no test, and so we would just get the names of the students from the professors and the email addresses, form the teams, and let them participate. And then, yeah, some students never show up, some students never participate. So now there is this test in place, and so some students will not pass the test, or rather, let me put it this way, there will be a few students who will take the test but will not pass it. But usually, once you give them another chance, they do well. The problem is that there will be some students who will never take the test. And so I'm glad that we know about that because, we don't put them on teams, because if they can't even take the test, they probably will not even show up and participate in the team discussions and meetings and webinars and all of that. Now, sometimes things happen, and maybe you will have some personal circumstances that preclude you from participating in the project. I mean, hopefully not, but somebody can get sick, or maybe have some challenges at work, or maybe personal life. Who knows? Things happen, and when that happens, I guess we can't really do much about it. And in real life, when you work in a team as part of your job, I suppose that can happen too. So I guess the team will have to find a way to deal with that. The only thing that I ask you is that try to inform your team in advance and try to explain to them, if something happens, you can no longer participate. So at least they know, and they can redistribute the workload, and somebody can pick up your part of work. Because it does happen occasionally, not very often, but it does happen occasionally that somebody stops working, and the team may not even know that the student dropped the course or changed his or her mind. And obviously, for a week or two, they're waiting and waiting, and then it's too late. So I just ask you to be professional and to be ethical here. And, if something happens and you either have to drop out altogether, or maybe you just have to take a break, or maybe go on a business trip or vacation, let your team know. So the team will deal with that. It's not a problem. Just communication is the key here. All right. So I think we're pretty much out of time. We have another webinar in a few minutes with the coaches. So the best students from the last semester can apply to become the coaches for the new generation of ex-culture students. And so we received about 200 applications this semester. And so the coaches have to complete a lot of training. So they have to complete 16 training modules. Like, you have students for the project complete only one training module. The coaches complete 16 of those training modules. So they have to complete training on how to provide effective feedback, or how to do cross-cultural conflict resolution, or online collaboration tools, or how to evaluate work of others. So things like that. And so everything that a coach, a manager, a mentor needs. And so out of about 200 applicants, we select usually 40 coaches. And so they become literally mentors or coaches to the cohort, a new cohort of ex-culture students. So they sort of share their experience and new acquired training with the new generation of students, while also training and receiving, experience and learning new skills of how to be a cross-cultural team manager, coach, mentor. And so the good news here is that for the students, as well as for the professors, the coaches will be available to provide additional help. So if there is a conflict in the team, or if the team wants to receive feedback on their work, or if they just need someone to help them set up, I don't know, something in Google Docs or Dropbox, the coaches will be available. And so the good news for the students is that help will be available. Once you ask, you will receive the help. But it's also very good news for the professors, because that means that if sometimes you're busy with other things, or sometimes, like, let's say a professor gets sick, or something else goes wrong, the good news is that we will provide help centrally. And so your students will still be in good hands. So if you will be too busy with something else, there will be still help available to your students. They will still receive regular feedback. They will still have someone to go to for help with whatever personal or team level problem they have. Likewise, when the time will come to evaluate the reports, again, the coaches can help here. So the professor has a huge class, and some professors do, so that means that they have to evaluate a lot of reports. And so if it's a very large class, the coaches will help there as well. Yeah. All right. So any other questions? Then with your permission, I'm going to stop here. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out either to admin@exculture.org, and I have access to that account, and my assistants have access to that account. Or if you need help with something more serious, like, you need coaching, you can send an email to coaching@exculture.org, and help will be provided. And again, we will remind you about those email addresses multiple times. And then if it's something specifically for me, you have my contacts as well. So I'll try to respond as well. All right. Thank you so much. And I hope it will be an enjoyable and a productive semester, during which the students will learn a lot of new things, and the professors will also provide an interesting, good experience for the students. For the professors, one more thing I wanted to say is that research is a big component of ex-culture. So if you live in a publish or perish world and you like to publish, or you need to publish, We do a lot of research, and you are welcome to join our research projects as a co-author, or maybe start your own research project. So if you go to the Xculture website and click on for researchers on the menu there, you will find much more about the types of data we have, the types of projects that are being developed now, our publications, collaboration principles. So I encourage you to join the research team of Xculture. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, have a nice weekend, and be ready for the team for teams being formed on Monday, and for the practical phase starting on Monday. Bye bye.